What's up, everyone? This is Lane from Trend Friend. I just wanted to take a minute to explain how the 1 minute scalping indicator works and just give you guys some details so you know how to set it up correctly and adjust it to get it to the way that you want it to perform. So to start, the first option up here is refresh the indicator to fix loading errors. If you ever get a little red exclamation point next to the indicator name over here and it just won't load for some reason, just come in here and click this button and it'll automatically reload the indicator. You can check it or uncheck it, doesn't matter. It's just telling it to reload it. So you won't have to remove it and reapply it to your chart and redo your settings and all that. Just click that button. Second thing that you should know is this indicator, even though it's built for the 1 minute charts, it does work on all time frames because it's just reading the previous candles. So if you do like the way that this indicator performs compared to our other algorithms, then feel free to use this on any other time frame. Third thing you should know is that you see these little eye icons next to everything. Those are descriptions that are telling you exactly what each one of these settings does. So if you're ever curious about something or you're not sure, just hover your mouse over that little eye icon and it'll give you a detailed description of how it affects that indicator. All right, so let's get into the settings. Trade mode is we offer you fast, medium, and smooth but fast. If you're familiar with the old version of this, we used to have scalp mode, swing mode, and then we had super scalp, super swing, and super long swing. The super modes have all been replaced with smooth but fast. This is the more customizable option, and it's the default. Fast is the old scalp mode, medium is the old swing mode. So the differences here is these two have their own algorithm, and they are basically fast is comparing current price action to the previous candle. Medium is comparing current price action to the past two candles. So those are going to be the quickest to react, and they will give you the earliest entries, but they also won't hold positions as long. Medium will hold them a little bit longer than fast, but these aren't going to hold positions as long as smooth but fast. So I do recommend using smooth but fast unless you're, just wanting to get the earliest entries in many situations, that can be extremely useful. Then go ahead and use those. But I would recommend this one as all these other settings apply to this. So the next setting, number of previous candles to analyze for signals. This only applies to smooth but fast. Like I said, medium and fast only use the previous one candle and the previous two candles. So this setting right here will not affect those, but it will affect smooth but fast. So it is looking at the number of previous candles that you set here to give signals for some of our signal parameters. Now, we do have a lot of signal parameters that will not look at this number. They will if we detect a likely reversal, then it will override that parameter and it will give the signal just to make sure that we're, not holding on to trades that could go in the wrong direction. So that will help some of them. You can increase this to 10 or so. You can decrease it down to 2 if you want it to react faster, but you're not going to get a ton of changes when you do update it, just because a lot of these signals are detecting set up to detect major reversal patterns. And when those are the majority of the signals that are coming in, then these parameters won't be allowed that much. So you won't get a ton of changes, but it will help in some instances. So that's one customization option. Average candle size rejection. We do calculate the average candle size. Most really small candles aren't valid for reversal signals. So we do have parameters in there where we calculate these sizes and we try to reject most of them unless a bunch of other parameters are met that really tell us that it is going to be a reversal. Then we allow it through. But turning this off will kind of get rid of that on some of these signal parameters, and it'll allow signals to come through on most sizes of candles. So that can, I don't know, we have enough parameters in there that I would just leave this on for the most reliable signals. Next is higher time frame candle filter. So basically what that does, if I were to turn this on, it's the default is 2. So that is looking at the previously closed 2-minute candle, and it will not give a signal unless price has passed the high or the low of that previous 2-minute candle and has a candle that is worthy of giving a signal. Now you can set that to whatever time frame you like. I've even got the 30-second on here for people that scalp the 15-second charts. But if I were to change this to 5, you'll see the signals update here. So something like this is going to happen sometimes because we didn't get a signal worthy, a candle worthy of a signal, and when we were outside of the previous 5-minute candle. So, with any indicator, there's going to be drawbacks, and that's just how it goes. Some things are going to work great at times, some things are not going to work great at times. Anytime the market is ranging, you're not really going to get great signals as it is, unless you're using, basically turn this off and just use the default parameters. That's when you're going to get the best signals, when it's ranging like this, just because price isn't giving it a chance to go anywhere. You can see when when things are volatile, it does much better. So anyways, you can set that to, any time frame that you want, if you want it to hold positions longer. And then this right here is just show the higher time frame. This has to be on as well, but show higher time frame candle high and low. So that's what these lines are here, and that's just giving you a visual reference when you have this setting turned on, that okay, these are the levels that we need to pass before a signal of the different direction can be allowed. So let's turn those off. Either way, if you do want to use this just to get them to hold positions a little bit longer, the 2 or the 3 is a great way to do that, just to get a little bit longer positions. All right, next, this new feature is one of my favorites: filter signals using an external indicator. So we give you the option to use up to 3 external indicators to filter these signals. So you could use something like a volatility detector, a volume indicator, an oscillator, a trend detecting indicator, or even other signal indicators. So there's many different ways that you can use this to filter out signals that aren't in the direction of the trend of some other indicator, or even if it's not a trend, like I said, it could just be volatility or volume. So you can use custom indicators, or you can use some of the indicators that we provide. The only thing that has to be present in those external indicators is it has to give an output value, and I'll show you what I mean by this in the data window. If I turn on the higher time frame price action scanner down here, click on data window. Down here we have trend direction to send to external indicators, and that's currently set at a 1 because it's in a bullish trend. Now this indicator is set to just use the 60-minute trend. And also, for those of you that weren't aware, the higher time frame price action scanner is built to be used with the 1-minute scalping indicator. You can turn up to 6 different time frames on, but for the purposes of just filtering out signals on the 1-minute scalping indicator, I have it set to use the 1 hour signal. So whatever signal it's in. And also another good way to do this is to set this to fast, so that it's getting the quickest reversals in there. But anyways, it's the same algorithm for the 1-minute scalping indicator, but it's scanning other time frames, so that way you can see what this algo would be performing on other time frames and trade with that trend. So if you turn all those on, you can just use it as like a visual, or you can just turn it on, turn 1 on, 2 on, 3 on, whatever, and use it as a trend filter with this parameter down here. So now I'll show you how to set that up. So all we would do is click on this, and Then we need to go to the higher time frame price action scanner and use this parameter here, trend direction, to send to external indicators. All the rest of these are not going to work. This one will work because it provides a value of 1 for bullish, -1 for bearish, 0 for neutral. That's how the 1 minute scalping indicator is programmed to work. It will only allow buy signals when it gets a value of 1, and this external filter is turned on. It will only give sell signals when it gets a value of -1, and it will not give any signals and paint the candles gray when it gets a value of 0. So currently, because the higher time frame price action scanner is in a bullish trend, the 60-minute direction of the signals for that one is currently in bullish. Then it's going to provide a value of 1, as you can see here, which means that the 1 minute scalping indicator is only going to get bullish signals when that happens. So this is an excellent way to trade. I think this is one of the best ways that you can trade, just because it kind of, now here are the parts where it kind of sucks is when things start to reverse, so if you're catching the end of the trend, then you'll get a couple bad ones like that. But other than that, it's very, very good. So let's go back up here. And so we also gave you 3 different options. So you could set this one to, the higher time frame price action scanner. We also have our any 8 moving averages is programmed to have this output value for those of you that like moving averages. We also have our trend trading indicator that has this output value. So you can use all 3 of those if you want, or you can program up your own indicators to give a 1 value for bullish, -1 for bearish, and 0 for neutral as an output. And then you can use that. But just make sure that it's set to the correct output in here. Otherwise, you will get an error, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if I were to turn this second one on and not change this to a valid output, then up here you're going to get a error message that says external indicator filter 2 turned on, but is using an incorrect source. So that's just, it's real easy to forget that you have these on. And if you remove an indicator from your chart that this was using, then it'll throw this error. So that's just letting you know, hey, you need to come in here and either switch this to something valid or turn one off. Okay, next, wait for confirming price action dots. Basically, if like a really small candle comes in and it passes most of our parameters, but it doesn't pass all of our parameters, but it does seem signal worthy, and you get a signal on that one, then a little yellow dot will appear above or below the candle, and that's just telling you, hey, wait for confirming price action that's going in the same direction of the signal before you follow this signal. So that's just kind of a little warning that this might not be a great signal. False signal warning X cross. Let's see if we can find one of those. Here's one right here. So basically, when we get an up signal and then a down signal immediately after, or a down signal and then an up signal on the candle right after, then it will give this little X cross, and that's just telling you, hey, price has flipped really quick on us. So don't follow that first signal, and if you do, use a tight stop loss. So it's just kind of giving you a little bit of a heads up that you need to really pay attention there so that you don't get caught in something bad. Next is the stop loss. So you can see the stop loss since it's currently, now even when you have this trend trading filter on, it is still flipping between bearish and bullish signals. So anywhere that it's gray down here right now is actually a bear signal, but we're just filtering that out with the trend stuff right now. So because it's currently in a bear signal here, this stop loss is above it and the take profits are down here. So that won't change when it's in a when you're using this trend filter. I'll probably update that in the future so that it does. But either way, you got your stop loss here. You can toggle on or off the price of the stop loss, as well as toggle on or off the price of the take profit levels. Trailing stop loss exit from here is going to turn on a trailing stop loss, and it will prevent any other signals from coming in either direction, and it will continue to follow that stop or follow the price action up until it gets hit, and then it'll turn orange and say take or stop loss was hit, and it'll change whatever color you have set here. Now, because that will not give any more signals in either direction from there, once you're done using that, you need to come back in here and turn this setting off. Otherwise, you won't get any signals. So make sure you do that. The candle trail length, the default is set to 3, which means that it's going to look at the previous, when it's in a buy signal, it's going to look at the lowest low of the previous 3 candles, and that's going to be the starting point for the stop loss. And then it's going to add on top of that an average candle. And then you just update how many average candles you want to add to that for padding room with this right here. So if you're to set this to 1, then that's going to add 1 average candle length to where the starting point of the stop loss is. So if you change that to 5, then you'll get a lot wider gap there. Next is take profit levels. That's using the same average candle size type of calculations, and we just have 3, 6, and 9 as the default settings for the take profit levels. And again, that's just taking from the closing price of where the candle came in right there. It'll give us 3 average candle sizes, 6, and then 9 for that. So you can adjust those as well as change the color of the labels. Both bull and bear arrows on off. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you just want to use like the candle coloring feature, which I'll show you later, then you can turn both of the signals off, which can be kind of nice to just clean up your charts, as well as, just use the candle coloring feature. Like if I were to turn this filter off, so we go back to the normal settings, and then I could turn both of these off, and then we're not going to get any more of these arrows. We'll just get the candle coloring, which is, the candle coloring is one of my favorite features, because then you're not just constantly getting a back and forth up and down. I think it's just a little less, it's a little easier on the nerves when you're staring at the chart. So that's one extra thing that you can do there. Or you can just turn one on or one off if you're only wanting to trade an uptrend or only a downtrend. Completely up to you. You can also change the size of the arrows here. We have small, medium, and large. You can change the color of the arrows. And we also have unconfirmed. So signals can repaint until the bar closes. Since this signal can go up and then come right back down, the signal needs to close with signal-worthy parameters for us to give a signal. So until that candle has closed, we use like a half transparency color here, just to let you know hey, wait for this signal, or wait for this candle to close with a signal before you follow it. So you can do that for bull and bear signals. And then right here, you can turn on or off the candle coloring, as well as change the neutral, bearish, and bullish colors to your preference. I personally like this, like aqua and orange colors, but not everybody does, so feel free to change those. And then if there's anything else that you want to change, you can always come into this style tab up here and update anything else in there. So that'll do it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop a comment in here or send me a message on TradingView. I also have another video that goes in depth on how to correctly set up these filter signals using external indicators. So feel free to check my profile in the ideas section. There's a video listed in there on how to filter signals with the 1 minute scalping indicator. So if you have any questions on that one, feel free to check out that video, because I also show some other great ways to use different indicators as filters as well. But for now, again, let me know if you have any questions. You can reach out to me using the chat feature on TradingView. or you can drop a comment below or shoot us an email, whatever you'd like. Thanks.